History of Boeing. The history of Boeing is aligned to the history of US aviation. Boeing, the biggest aircraft manufacturer of them all. From commercial airplanes to space and security, the Boeing brand is widely known the world over, and has been for over the past 100 years. Early history. Boeing was founded by William E. Boeing, a timber executive, in 1916. And was located in Seattle. It moved to Chicago in 2001. Boeing was first known as Aero Products Company. Boeing, already wealthy from his ownership of various lumber companies in the Northwest US, grew fascinated with aircraft after viewing one at the Alaska-Yukon-Pacific Exposition in Seattle in 1909. A year later, Boeing bought a wooden boat building plant right on the Duwamish River, which he would transform into an aircraft manufacturing plant. The Aero Products Company name didn't last long after that, as Boeing changed its name to the Boeing Airplane Company in 1917. Its first source of income came from the US military. As Boeing began building various military aircraft, patrol bombers were a mainstay, in the 1920s and 1930s. Taking flight. Boeing also began selling aircraft to deliver mail to far-flung American cities and towns, and, in the late 1920s. In 1931, it morphed several smaller airlines into a single large airline, better known as United Airlines. After a series of name changes, the company went back to the name Boeing Airplane Company and was highly instrumental in building military aircraft in the Second World War, including the B-17 Flying Fortress and the B-29 Superfortress. After the war, the B-47 Stratojet and the 8-engine B-52 Stratofortress followed. With the war years over, Boeing returned to the idea of building commercial planes that could take customers across the country in a single flight. And by 1958, it finally rolled out the 707, which immediately went into service for Pan American Airlines. The 707 was a huge hit with the public, who were amazed to fly from New York to Los Angeles in a few short hours, and, as a result, orders for Boeing's new aircraft line were sky-high during the 1960s. That momentum led to the development of the 737 in 1964 and the 747 in 1970. By the end of the 20th century, however, the Boeing 747, with 400 seats and bigger and faster engines, became the highest-selling commercial airline of all time. Race to space. Boeing began branching out in the 1960s, first with a new line of helicopters, including the CH-47 Chinook and CH-46C Night military choppers, which rolled off assembly lines in 1961. The company also began developing missiles for the US military, with its silo-launched Minuteman missile delivered in 1962. But Boeing had even grander plans, as it began building both air and land craft for NASA. First came the Lunar Roving Vehicle, widely used on the Apollo space flights in the 1960s and 70s. Boeing also built a lunar orbiter, which first traveled around the moon in 1966. Boeing would also go on to build the Mariner 10 space probe and the initial Saturn V rockets that Apollo used to fly men to the moon in the late 1960s and 1970s. Boeing would also begin building vehicles for NASA's Space Shuttle mission in the 1970s and continued to do so until NASA shuttered the project in 2011. The 1980s saw Boeing refocus on the commercial airline sector, as it began work on the Boeing 757 and Boeing 767 aircraft. Computerization in the form of computer-aided design and manufacturing, CAD/CAM, software enabled Boeing to build its 777 aircraft in the 1990s. The 787 Dreamliner building began in the early 2000s, but the Dreamliner didn't begin filling orders until 2011. In the end, though, the 787 proved to be the fastest and most fuel-efficient passenger aircraft in the industry. By 2017, Boeing was building and delivering hundreds of their aircraft annually, with a total pre-order price tag of $134.8 billion. With more than 500 of the 737 model, the most ordered, 94 of the 787s and 60s of the 777 model. It continues to build aircraft at a robust pace, making it the top aircraft manufacturer in the world in 2019. Boeing stock. Currently, Boeing stock is trading at around $300 per share, and the company has a monster market cap of $172.3 billion. Thank you.